So good morning, team, and thank you for joining the session today. And from today onwards, we are going to start the regular classes. As you know, the official timing for this batch is going to be Monday to Friday from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. IST. So please make sure that you join on time because we have only 1 hour and there are a lot of contents that we need to cover in terms of the training materials. My request here is please make sure you join on time so at least uh, we can start by 7:05, right? So, but do not join just on 7:05, try to join it before. Okay. The voice is coming low. Okay, so let me take care of it. And if other students are also facing the same issues, please you can type it in the chat because sometimes what happens is it's not the issue with everyone, it's just the issue with one or two students. So by that way, it will be clear to the others. So and if it is only issue with one or two students, please make sure you just uh, exit the meeting room and join again, right? So, or please, you can also check your internet connectivity. Meanwhile, I'll also check my end, right? If it is something which is being faced by all the students. Okay. Now, here, okay, let me also admit other students. There are still students in the waiting room. So, team, let me give you some heads up how we are going to proceed going forward in terms of the training program. So, yes, I know many of these students are freshers, so I'll try to be slow as possible, especially those subject areas which needs your attention. I'll try to be more slow and try to explain in a more simple language so that you can get the complete understanding what exactly we are discussing here and what is the overall flow of this. Okay, now with that let me take you back where we started discussion in terms of the ERP, in terms of the system navigations and all. So in yesterday's session, so hopefully everyone was there in yesterday's session, but if not, let me give you a quick summary what we did. So in terms of the system navigation, right? So we used the URL which is there for Oracle Fusion Cloud application, right? So we have used, this is not the one, so it can be the one which will be shared with the admin team. So we have used an URL, we have used our credentials and password to log in or sign in the application. Okay. Once you are able to sign some basic navigations, we have explored like how to set the preferences in terms of the time zones, in terms of the region and other related options, number format, date format, and all. Right. So that is something we have already explored. Now, apart from this, what we did additionally is uh, we navigated to the setup and maintenance part and saw that where we can see the setup and maintenance. And before doing that, what we did is we navigated to the security console. And from security console, we were able to create a user account. So one concept that we have discussed is how to create a user account. Now, once we have created a user account, when we try to sign in that particular user account, we saw that the user account doesn't really have the privileges, doesn't really have the options to do the setups or to look into the other aspects of the application. So then there I have explained that we have a concept of role-based security. Okay. So the role-based security concept is there. And on the basis of that, what system does is system allows you to navigate to various privileges in terms of setups or in terms of various functionality, which are module related functionality. Right. So more role-based privilege is one thing, and second is based on the roles, we'll be getting all the privileges. Now, two aspects here understand. We need roles to do perform the setups. Okay, perform the setups means perform the configuration. Then we need roles to explore the functionality of various business processes which are going to be governed as a part of the configuration that we are going to do. Okay, so those two things should always be there as a prerequisite. Okay, basic things only, just repeating, nothing new of whatever we have explored yesterday. I'm just giving you a summary of that, right? Now, also I have explained that Oracle do have quarterly upgrade policy. If you look into this one, so one upgrade each quarter. Okay. So for that purpose, the whole year is divided into 4 quarters. Jan to December is the yearly definition Oracle follows. And that as per the definition, you have Jan to March as quarter A, April, June quarter B, July, September quarter C, and October, December as quarter D. So every quarter, so it is not going to be the case like before the quarter starts, they'll be doing the upgrade. No, once the quarter starts, then based on the individual schedules, right? So what Oracle does is zone-wide schedules or region-wide schedules they have, right? So like US has its own schedule for upgrades. Then you have UK has its own schedule for upgrade. Middle East has its own schedule for upgrade. So it is not the case that across the globe the upgrades are done on a same date, same time. No, it is the case, region-wise schedules are there, and the admin user, each and every application will be having an admin user. Who is going to be the admin user? Is it going to be asked as a part of consulting team, or is it going to be the person who is representing the business? So it is going to be someone from the business side will be registered as an admin user. So what is going to happen is the admin user is going to get those schedules well in advance that your oral application is scheduled to be upgraded on this and this date. Okay, just give me a moment. Right, so admin team, I've already made you the co-host. Check it. Uh, check it if anyone is there in the waiting room. Hold on a second, team. Okay, now let me come back to the topic. So upgrade policies are there. Who is going to take care? It is always going to be the Oracle. And who, where, from where I can get this information? Always when we are executing a project for the implementation of Oracle, normally we also get to know that who is the admin user from the business side, right? So the admin user is responsible for communicating any kind of schedules or any kind of upgrades which is scheduled by Oracle. So he needs to communicate it back to us. Us means not only the financial consultant, the whole project team needs to communicate. So generally, how it works is like there is a whole project team which is involved in the execution of the project. So you have project managers on the top of the list. Then you have under project managers, you have project leads, right? And then you have the consultants. Okay, so leads means you can have human capital management leads, supply chain management leads, you can have finance leads, right? So under them we have consultants, then you can have principal consultants. These are just designations and all, right? Senior based on seniority and all. You have senior, then you have associates, right? Same here, same here, same here. So it's overall depending upon the size of the project. This can be a long, big team of users or big team of consultants may be involved in the execution of the project. Now, let's say for us, let's say where I'm as of now where I'm sitting. I may be sitting here, right? As of now, if I'm starting it as a fresher, if I'm an experienced one, maybe I'm sitting here, right? I'm a part of the team. So it is not going to be the case that whoever is the admin user representing the business will be directly connected to me and all. No, generally there is a hierarchy which is followed that he'll be communicating to the project manager. From project manager, the information is going to flow to you. Correct. So that is how it is going to work, right? So always at the end, you should be aware what exactly the information is required, and all these project related information or the application related information somehow should be flowing to you, right? Once you get enough experience and all, right? So then you know in the like once you do 2 or 3 projects, then you know what information you need, and then you can directly also each you ask to the admin team or to the project manager that I need this information. I need when the application is going to be upgraded, is any upgrade is due, right? So those things we can easily understand, right? And how it is helpful. So whenever we start executing any project in terms of the application implementation, right? Maybe the case the latest upgrade is not been done yet, right? So let's say I'm doing it in the month. I started in the month of July, and July upgrade is not there. So on the very first day, if I look into the application version, so that point of time I'll be able to understand that this particular upgrade of this particular quarter is still due. Correct, and that is where I can understand that in the upcoming days this is going to be executed and all, right? So how it is helpful sometimes what happens is there are certain functionalities which are not there as part of the existing version, but which are proposed to be a part of the upcoming versions, right? So sometimes what happens, let's say businesses ask for certain specific features and functionality, those are not available, but you are aware that it is going to be there as a part of the upgraded version, right? So then and there, just looking into the application itself, we can find that which is the current version, what is going to be the next upgrade, right? So that is the utility overall of the looking into the upgrades and all, right? Now, here, generally what we do is we create the user, assign the user the roles and all. Correct? Based on the roles, system will give you the access of the modules. But going forward, we'll also look into one of the part, the data aspect, right? So it is not the case, which means that whenever you're going to have your user account and plus you'll be giving the roles of the particular module. So that means you'll be having the access of the module, but it's an ERP application. It is not designed to keep into or to maintain the data of an individual organization. No, hundreds of organization data can be easily maintained as the part of single application. What does it mean? It means that, for example, let's say I'm implementing for Reliance. Okay, so implementation for Reliance means generally I'll not be implementing for only one of the companies of the Reliance, right? So let's say Reliance is a group, and under that group, I have 100 companies. Now, if they want, if they have, let's say Reliance has chosen Oracle Cloud as their preferred ERP partner. So how it is going to work? Uh, each of the 100 individual companies is Reliance is going to buy a separate application, or one single application is capable of handling the operations of hundreds or all 100 companies. So the answer is one single application is capable of handling operations of 100 companies, right? So then and there the point start. If I have a user account here, let's say user A is Abhishek Kumar, and he is having the access of the role general ledger. Okay, now what happens is if he's having the GL related roles, so does it means he'll be having the excess of 100 company data? Answer is no, right? Because he's not supposed to work with 100 companies. Maybe he's working with one of the company name is Reliance Industry Limited, right? So going forward, not now, but going forward, we'll also look into one of the aspects, which is you create the user account, you assign the role to the user, plus you assign something called data access, which is going to make sure that the required user has the access of which who's having the access of the module, plus who is having the access of the required data. Okay, let's say Abhishek Kumar working as a general ledger accountant, right? He's a GL person and he's working on the GL module. So he needs only access of client's data. Okay, so that is something we'll make sure, right? Through data access concept. Similarly, there is user A who's also having same role, but he's working for Geo. So he should be having access only Geo related data out of the 100 companies, right? So that kind of security mechanism is also there, but too early to discuss on this part, which is how to get the access of the data. So that is something which will be required when we move ahead the configuration. And once we're done with the initial configuration, then we need to take care of this, that how we can make sure that individual data related access is also to be given to the individual users. So if you going ahead, if you look into this aspect, which is user accounts and all. So first is who is going to have the access? The user is going to have the access. What access means which module, general ledger, cash management, accounts payable, receivable, or whatever the module is. And also another aspect will be there, which is which data. So it is going to make sure that only the required data related access will be given to the specific user, and we don't have the authority to look into the data of other companies, because one single application itself can be used for the purpose of maintaining data of multiple companies at a given point of time. Right. When I say multiple companies, it is not 1 to 10, it is hundreds of companies at a given point of time. Right. Now, here, I hope this is okay. Now, let me also give you some more context here. So, generally, what happens is, let's try to understand with the help of this example. Generally, what happens is, there is an end user company. So, the story will start from the end user company. There is an end user company or a business group, right, who is willing to take a new ERP or willing to replace an existing ERP. Maybe the existing ERP has some gaps and is not able to fulfill the business requirement, and they need to replace it with a new ERP application. Okay. Or it's an in case, very rarely it will be in case it's a new business and they, as a first ERP they want to go with Oracle. Rare case that part, because generally when it's a very initial stage of the new business, so at that point of time generally it will be small ERPs that can fulfill the requirement. But later on, as the growing needs and requirement of the business, they'll go with an high end ERP, which is like Oracle Fusion ERP. Okay, so the majority of the cases it should be the existing business is there, it's running on some ERP platform, and then business wants to go with Oracle ERP as their preferred partner. Okay. Now, in this example, let me take an example. Reliance Industry want to go with a Oracle ERP. So what they will be doing is they'll be connecting with the vendor company. Who's the vendor company? Oracle Corporation. So they'll be discussing with them that this is something that we are looking for in terms of the ERP. What vendor company is going to do? They'll be giving their presentations in terms of like what the product is capable of being of, what kind of reporting, how it maintains the data and all. Right. So kind of like presentation, summarized presentation demos will be given to them, and based on the demos they'll be fixing it. Yes, okay, yes, we are okay with this, we want to get this implemented. Now what happens is, Reliance wants this product to be implemented. Reliance in a particular is working in a particular industry or particular line of business, right? So if they want this to be implemented, so they want someone who do hold an expertise in the implementation of Oracle ERP. So what they will be doing, they'll be looking into implementation companies, not only one, multiple companies they'll be looking into. Maybe the case they'll communicate to these companies and they'll be asking, okay, give us your proposal. This is what we want to implement. These many companies we want to implement. These are this is the volume of data that what we are looking for, right? So based on that data, what happens is the implementation companies or consulting companies will be building up their proposal, they'll be submitting it, and they'll be giving all the details like this is going to be the cost of implementation, this is going to be the duration of the implementation, this is what we require from your end, this is what we are going to provide as a part of this oral implementation services and all, right? So there can be hundreds of things as a part of project execution, right? So not only related to financials, but each and every subject area which is to be implemented, so that will be taken care as a part of the initial proposal, right? So something I'm telling you, which we are not going to do, but as a part of the process, this is how it is done. This is how it's executed. So we know that how this overall chain of activities work, right? So where our part is going to come, that is something we'll discuss in the upcoming part, right? So here when these companies give us their presentation, so it is cost is not the only factor, right? There can be multiple factors which will be considered by the end user company, and on the basis of that, they'll be selecting their consulting partner, that who is going to be the company or organization which are going to implement for us. For example, they have selected PwC. Okay, so let me highlight it separately. They have selected PwC out of the multiple available companies as their partner for Oracle implementation. So then PwC, what they'll be doing, they'll be submitting a detailed layout or detailed roadmap of the project. So this is how we are going to implement. These many team members will be bringing on board to execute this project. And these are the timelines. These are the individual uh, milestones that we are going to achieve in the upcoming months and all, right? So a very detailed plan will be shared. Along with that, one of the key or important document is will be shared with attention. It is called project scope document. What exactly this is? This is a formal document which is prepared by the implementation company, which is signed between the implementation company and the end user company, which defines the overall scope of the project, that what exactly we are going to do in that particular timeline. Okay. Now this contains the scope of the project, which means that it contains that how much data we are going to migrate, what are the number of companies we are going to implement, what are the individual configurations we are going to do. Because this is very important. If you don't define the scope of the project, then what happens is maybe Reliance has 100, 200, 300 companies, right? And you have not defined it in the scope. When we start executing project, they'll bring up, you need to implement for 200, 200, all 300 companies, right? Practically not possible. Each and every aspect of the project, the costing of the project is decided on the basis of the scope of the project. Let's say the initial scope was identified out of 100 companies by Reliance. It will be the initial project will be executed only for 10 companies, then that should be clearly mentioned in the project scope document. So tomorrow, if Reliance wants to implement 11 company out after the 10th company, so that is out of the scope of the project, right? So more detailed scope is going to be there, and it is going to make the life easy for us, because that is how we are going to understand what exactly is required from our end. Okay. So one of the important point here is going to be project scope document, right? Let me give very layman's example, right? So I have a land, I have a piece of land, right? So out on the piece of land, let's say it is owned by Reliance Industry, right? And I'm an architect, okay, who's or I'm a contractor who's responsible for constructing the building, right? So Reliance approached to me asking that we need to construct the building. Okay, that is fine, but we also need to decide, if I need to construct a building, how many floors it is going to have, how many individual, let's say, flats it's going to have, or rooms it is going to have, right? All this is identified as a scope of the project. The costing and the timelines of the project will be dependent on that, right? If it is just the case, lands give me the land and says you need to construct a building without identifying how many floors and how many individual flats and what is the amenities and all, right? If that is not discussed, then yeah, it will be an open-ended scope, and where whatever later on will be asked by the Reliance Industry, then I need to execute that, right? So that is where for each and every project, detailed scope of work is already identified very well in advance. And more detailed it is, which means more detail means individual component-wise details are going to be mentioned, including the financial components. So I can give you an example from finance side specifically. So if you look into a good scope of project document, right? A project document with a scope document which is considered as a good, so it will contain the number of legal entities you need to configure, number of companies, right? Number of bank accounts you need to configure, number of integrations that are there in the scope of the project, number of custom reports are also going to be there. That these are the total number of custom reports that we are going to develop for your business, right? So each and everything that we are going to deliver, if it is there in the scope document, so that is what is going to help us to understand this is the scope of work that we are going to do, right? Project scope document is very mandatory document. This is going to help you out in understanding what is your job is the project. Also, the number of modules, which all modules are going to be implemented, are also mentioned clearly in the project scope document. So, the first thing, whenever you start working on the project, whether you're working as an associate consultant, senior consultant, lead consultant, right? The first thing that, especially in a new project, so the first thing that you should always be asking for is project scope document. Generally, the project manager uh, shares well in advance with the consultant the project scope document. By any chance, if it is not available, do ask that what is the project scope document, so I can look into my set of activities that I need to perform. Okay, so this is how it's going to work. Next thing is, once you have the project document, so the overall project is divided into multiple stages, right? Multiple stages means project execution stages. Each stage has its own input and expected output as a part of the project execution, right? So let's say Lens is a big organization, right? So it is not going to take 3 to 4 months. It is going to take more, let's say 1 year for implementation. Okay, because considering the size of the business is very big. So here, the whole 1 year will be divided into different stages. That in the first month we'll be completing this stage, then we'll get this output from first stage, then we'll move to the second stage. Second stage will take 2 months. After the completion of 2 months, second stage is over, then we'll move to the third. So each and every stage will be having some output that will become an input of the next stage, right? So here these stages are listed out. Now uh, there is an Oracle methodology for the project implementation. So as per the implementation, these are the stages that we have. However, the implementation companies, what they also do, they slightly modify this suggested methodology from Oracle as per their convenience, right? So they may have some lesser stages, or the naming conventions of these stages may be different from one to another, one organization to another. That may be there, but ultimately the end result is want to implement this project and hand over the final applications or server to the business which is configured as per the business requirement. Okay, that is the end result. Otherwise, these stages, maybe I'm calling the stages as HLS ERP, it is known by some other name in some other companies. That is absolutely fine. Okay. But what you need to understand, instead of just naming convention, you need to understand what are the set of activities that we are going to have this individual stages. Okay. So let's quickly summarize what we have done, right? So we understood the concept, like what is implementation company, and is the company, vendor company, how this story begins, right? So that is something we have discussed. One individual concept we have discussed, project scope document, which basically contains the overall scope of the project. Okay, project means the formal project between the end user company and the implementation company, where the implementation company or consulting company is going to implement the project for the end user company. Why implementation companies? Because they do have subject matter knowledge of the particular industries or particular regions. Okay, limited not limited, I'll say, but vendor company, business between vendor company and end user company is restricted to subscription, right? Whatever application subscription which will be done, so end user company will be directly subscribing from the vendor company, which is Oracle, because they have developed the product, they have all the licenses and subscriptions. Okay, so this is over. Now we are talking about the project stages. So read it as an individual concept only, right? Not mix it up with this one. It's an individual thing here. So as I mentioned, that each project will be having different stages of execution. We will be doing those execution one by one. Uh, in some certain inputs will be required both from the consulting team and end user companies, and based on inputs, project stages will be executed. Some output will be there. That output will be considered the milestone completion of that particular stage. That output is going to serve as the basis of the next stage that we are going to have. Right now, I have mentioned just the uh, Stages name can differ from organization to organization. Maybe you are working with PwC, they are having their own stages name, EY has having its own, Deloitte has its own, that is fine. But your focus is what is the input and output that we are going to have in that particular stage, right? So once you have that understanding, right, then it will be easy for you to understand what is expected as a part of this stage. Correct. Sometimes what happens is the name changes happens and then the consultant gets confused like, okay, I've not heard of this stage, what I'm supposed to do now. No, you need to understand if something new is coming on, what is expected out of this stage. Once you know that, so you'll be aware, okay, this is something I've done with this name in the previous organization, or this is what I have understood in terms of the project stages. Okay. So somewhere it is called project stages, somewhere it is called project phase, somewhere it is called project life cycle management. Okay, so multiple terminology is there. A standard methodology was given by Oracle that how you should be implementing the projects, and then it was modified by various consulting companies, and they have given their own names, right? So it's giving their own names, having their own strategy, right? So that is something which consulting companies follow a lot, and the fancy terminologies are used here. For the end user business that these are the project stages we are going to do. This is going to effectively help you in implementing the project and minimum timeline and all. But ultimately, the things are same if you go deep dive into those stages and their inputs and output. Okay. Now, let me give you an understanding of the project stages, right? So the first stage always, right? If I'm working as a consulting company, as a part of the consulting company, let's say I'm the person who's responsible for implementing financial model for Reliance Industry Limited. Okay. Now, if I'm going to implement something, first I should be knowing what are the business requirements, right? So it is not expected out of me that I should be knowing the business of Reliance Industry well in advance, right? So each and everything they should be explaining to me. So that is where the first stage of project comes into picture, which is called high level analysis or requirement gathering phase. Okay. Although the name is high level analysis, uh, but it is not analyzing the business on a high level. It is the detailed requirement gathering phase to the extent possible. Whatever discussions or whatever understanding you need to have before designing or configuring a system for the end user company, you need to understand how their business operates, right? Or what are their requirements in terms of the overall modules, right? So here, just if we talk about the financial activities, right? So if you look into the financial, there can be n number of processes. So normally what we do here, we divide the process into modules, right? So for example, if Reliance is going to implement all these modules, general ledger, accounts payable, account receivable, fixed asset, cash management. So what we normally do is we have requirement gathering sessions, right? And for each individual module, how you work on the GL, or how you do the accounting entries, how you open or close the accounting periods and all, how you maintain the supply related activities, their payments, how you maintain customer related activity, their payments, how you maintain fixed asset depreciation and all, how you maintain your banking activities, right? All these things are understood in detail, so we understand their existing process. We understand if there are any gaps in the existing. Generally, gaps will be there because if no gaps are there in the existing system, there is no need to move to the next year, new ERP, right? So generally, one of the reason why business move to the new ERP because existing system is not able to meet certain requirements, right? So that is where we understand what are your existing requirements, what are the gaps that you find in the existing system which you need to overcome in the new system, and what is the changes in the process that you would like to bring here. Okay, so those things are understood in detail by the consulting team. And what is a way, right? Can I go and just lightly start discussion on that? No, right? Because uh, it's a very as of now I'm speaking that what are your requirements or not very general discussions there, but we need to deep dive into individual business processes. So here What we do, we take help of various documents. We take PPT, questionnaire, system demo also we can do sometime, right? Now, these approaches differ from organization to organization. Maybe PwC use PPT model, EY use questionnaire model, Deloitte use system demo model, right? So generally, these are the different options which are available. PPT means each and every consulting company will be having their presentations in terms of various topics, right? GL related topics will be there, so that is going to help business understand like, okay, these are the various processes which are going to be there as a part of the new application. And then based on that processes, they'll be giving their inputs. Okay, so for example, how you do your accounting entries. Do you need an option to bulk upload the accounting entries using the spreadsheets, Excel spreadsheet, or how you maintain your accounting period close? What is your calendar year? Jan to December, April to March. What is your accounting method? Which currency you maintain your books of accounts, right? What kind of reports you generate, right? So all those relevant questions are there as a part of your questionnaire or PPT, right? Or generally what we do, we prepare a demo instance, give them the demonstration. These are the various functionalities we have in GL module, right? And which of these functionalities are same as your business requirement? Where exactly want the changes, right? So all these detailed discussions are done with the business. Now, as you are very new to the product, right? You don't know the business functionalities yet, right? Right? So going forward, where we are going to look into that, right? So then one by one, you'll also get that these are the functionalities and all that are there in the application, right? So this is called the HLA phase, requirement gathering phase, where the detailed understanding, right? Again, let me put it in the layman's language. If I need to construct a building, and also first thing I'll be asking how many floors, or how many flats you want, each floor, how many floors flats you want, what should be the area, carpet area, what should be amenities, facilities, right? All these things I'll be understanding, right? So how business is going to give, either they'll be saying based on the requirement, new requirements, or they're saying the existing building, we have this thing, now we want to make these changes, right? This is how it is going to work. So same in the case of software implementation also, this is going to work in a similar manner, where first we need to understand the business requirement to design something for them or to propose the solution in terms of the new application to them, right? So this is called HLF phase, followed by another phase which is called CRP phase. What is CRP phase? The CRP phase is simple: conference room piloting or system demo. So what we have, the business will be getting the URLs, ID and password from vendor company once they have the subscription done. So they'll be extending it to us as a consulting company. Look, this is the application that we have got. You can use this application for doing the configuration. So whatever we have received as a requirement, the initial HLA phase, based on that, we will be designing an application. Designing an application means doing the configurations and then putting some data into the application, and then we'll be demonstrating that application to the business that this is how your new application will look like. And these are the individual business process. Means this is how you're going to do the accounting entries. This is how you're going to generate report. This is how you're going to process invoicing, payments, customer invoice, customer payments, fixed asset, depreciation, banking activities, right? So each and every process will be demonstrating which is going to be applicable to the business, right? So that is something which will be done in the CRP phase, conference room piloting, or simply as system demo phase. Okay. So hope that is fine. So we have gathered the requirement, prepared an application, demonstrated the application. What business is going to tell us when we demonstrate? Three things business can tell us. One is yes, the process meets our requirement. This is what exactly we are looking for. Or business will say, no, no, this is not what we are looking for. This is absolutely wrong, which means that whatever requirements you have got is not correct, or the requirement that you understood was not correct. Your understanding is not correct, right? If they say no, that means your understanding is not correct, or business has not given the correct understanding in terms of the requirement, right? One of these reasons can be there. Third one is partially it is meeting the requirements. Some business processes are exactly the same that we want. Some are not meeting the requirements, means we want some changes in these processes. Okay. Generally, It is not going to be yes always. It is not going to be no always. Generally, it is going to be always partially meeting the requirements. Means some of the business process are exactly the way they want. Some of the business process are not as the way they want, right? So in that case, they will be suggesting these are the changes that we want in this process, right? Individual process can be any invoicing process, payment process, or any specific process can be there. So once we receive those changes, right, generally you'll see the CRP phase is not one single stage, it is divided into multiple stages. CRP, CRP1, CRP2, or on a higher side, CRP3, right? So what happens is if in the CRP1 we didn't get the confirmation from the business that 100% is meeting our business requirement, the new design or new solution, then whatever the iterations are there, that can be covered in the CRP. But let's in the CRP2 also some changes in the requirement comes and there are some iterations, then we move to the CRP3. Normally, number of CRP stages are also finalized as a part of the project scope document because each of these stages is going to consume a timeline of the project, right? And it is going to take a significant time of the project timeline. So it is already decided in the project scope document that how many CRPs we are going to conduct, right? On a higher side, you see 3 CRPs. Otherwise, generally 2 is also enough. Right. So if 2 is enough, that means that whatever inputs we have received from CRP1 stage, those iterations will be doing CRP2 stage, and those are going to be final iterations, which means that no changes after the stage is going to be done. Correct. So at that point of time, generally, it is the responsibility of the business to make sure whatever is demonstrated is correct. If something is not correct, something new is required, then those should be communicated in a proper way to the implementation team so that they can bring it as a part of the upcoming stage. Right. So it's not going to be the case that after CRP will be there, 3 will be there. No, whatever is there as per the project scope document with the clear timelines, as per that, these stages will be conducted. Correct. Let's say this is one unique stage, CRP. And what exactly we need to do, that is also something we understood. So here in the first stage, we gathered the requirement. Based on the requirement, the output was we came up that this is what is required, that we have designed here and demonstrated to the business. Based on the demonstrated business case, a thumbs up that yes, this is the solution that we are looking for. So normally, once the GRP stages are over, then we prepare a formal document called solution design document, where each and every process is mentioned. Along with that, what is the solution that is being proposed? That is also mentioned. Okay, so that is a formal document which is prepared by the consulting team, shared by the consulting team to the business team, right? And once it is shared, so the expectation is that it will be signed off by the business. Okay, kind of mean whatever the requirements are, those are going to be freezed. Means this is what your requirements are, and based on that, this is the solution that we have proposed. So that is going to serve as a formal document of the solution. Right. Now, organization to organization, again, the format is different. There is no specific format that this is how a solution design document will be prepared and shared with the business. Organization to organization, they have their different ways and means of doing that, right? So something which we not need not to worry about. But once the stage is over, right, the solutions are finalized, then followed by the next part, which is KUT. KUT means key user training. Something we have designed, we have demonstrated, okay, but now business, they are the end users of the application. They should be trained on the application that how they are going to use this application. Correct. So that is where we conduct a stage called user training, where generally the trainings are imparted on the front end functionality, not configuration, right? Configuration was done, the implementation team, we are doing the configuration, right? We don't train the users on the configuration. We train the users on how to use the application from the front end, right? So always do remember, trainings are not going to be around the configuration that how to configure the system. That is our job, right? Trainings are going to be around the front end functionality that from the GL perspective, how you are going to put the accounting entries, reportings and all. From the AP perspective, how you are going to do supplier invoicing and payments and all. From the AR perspective, from the fixed asset perspective, cash management perspective, right? So whatever modules are in the scope of implementation, detailed training plan will be conducted where the users will be trained on the application. So generally, what happens is At this stage, we prepare something called KUT training manuals, right? Those are manuals where we have screenshot and navigation that this is what you need to follow. For example, although it's an create user, right? So it's one of the functionality only, because going forward, the business may need to create users, right? So step by step, this process is mentioned. You need to sign into the application, navigate to the security console. From security console, add user. Once you add user, assign the roles, right? So step by step process along the screenshots are given in the KUT user manual. So again, here organization to organization, they may have a different output here in terms of preparing the KUT manual. Some prepares through PPT, some prepares through recorded videos, some prepare through Word document. So depends on organization to organization how they prepare the KUT user manual. But what is the ultimate objective? The ultimate objective is to train the users that going forward how they are going to use the application for various system functionalities or business processes. Okay. Followed by the next stage, which is called UAT. UAT, user acceptance testing. If the users want, they are trained. So what they are doing, going to do in the UAT stage, they are going to test the application with the actual data. So they are going to put the actual data. For example, AP team is going to enter the invoices, supplier invoices, make the payment. Fixed asset team is going to enter fixed asset data and do the depreciation calculation and all. Various transactions related to fixed asset addition, retirement, transfers, right? Various functionalities they'll be testing it. DL team will be testing journals, balances, and reports and all, right? So that way, each of the team from the business end, they will be doing their data into the application. They'll be entering their data into the application, and they'll be looking into the system aspect, whether system is working fine or not, right? So that is something which is called user acceptance testing. So once they gave a final go ahead, yes, this is done, this is meeting the requirement. If sometimes what happens, some processes are not working, then we'll take care of that, why it is not working, any configuration related issue or any design related issue, right? Those things will work on, and then we'll give it to them for retesting, right? So once we get the final confirmation at this point of time, what happens is after the QA, there is a stage called go live. Go live means where we prepare the final version of the application. The final version means which will be used for actual business transaction on a day-to-day basis, right? So that is where an application called production application, which is configured by the implementation. Who is going to configure? Business is not going to configure, right? We are here only for their configurations and all, right? So we are going to do the configurations, and that version of application is called production version. That will be handed over once it is configured to the business, and from a particular date, which is called cutoff date, the business is going to start those applications. For example, let's say we are doing the project this year, and the deadline is by December 31st, 2026. We'll complete the project, hand it over to the business, and the business is going to start using the application from 1st of January 2027. So cutoff date is 31st December in that case, right? So once we hand over the production application, it is entirely owned and managed by the business only, right? Generally, consulting teams don't directly have the access of the production application. They don't have their intervention because it is used for day-to-day real business transactions, correct? And once this stage is done, the project officially gets over, but there might be additional stage here, which is called support. That is pretty much new to the application, so they need support services, or maybe 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, 4 month support project are there, where you're going to provide support to the business in terms of various functionalities, any changes in the configuration, or any unexpected behavior in the application. So as an expert, you may need to handle the same. Generally, implementation teams and support teams are different. Sometimes this may happen that initially the implementation team was also providing the initial support, later on replaced by the support team. Correct. So that is how the overall stages of the projects are there. Only changes, right? We need to understand what is the individual concept here, right? Only changes which you can expect is business consulting team to consulting team means maybe Deloitte has a different terminology, EY has a different, Tech has a different terminology. That is evident, right? No problem with that. But your understanding should be what kind of activities are done in the initial stage, that you should be very clear. If you are clear on that part, you're easily able to understand that where exactly the project is, right? And what is supposed to be done on our side, right? Maybe sometimes what happens, this is also happens a lot, where you don't join the project right in the beginning, you join somewhere in the middle of the project life cycle, right? That is also okay. So at that point of time also, you can look into what is the current stage going, what is the previous stages that has been done, what are the relevant documents that we have. So those things you can also always look for. Okay. Now, these are the project stages that we have. What we are going to do is we are going to look into the first phase, which is called HLA phase. And as a part of HLA phase, how we gather the requirement and then how we configure the application, right? So that is where we'll start with a concept called enterprise structure. So this discussion we are going to have where we'll understand what are the key concepts to build up the foundation in configuration of the application, right? So always when you start doing the configuration in an ERP application, this is where you start, which is called enterprise structure. Okay, so there are multiple components in the enterprise structure that we'll look into. The one which are applicable to us. So those things we'll explore and we'll understand the basic concept behind that, and something will be configuring in the application, right? So very critical one, very mandatory one, because this is going to serve as a foundation of your ERP application, not only from the financial side, from the other track side as well, right? So what we are going to do in the next session, we'll start with discussion of the enterprise structure. We'll understand what are the components, how it can be configured, and what are the individual things that we need to take care. So here we'll be talking about the best business practices, the logics behind deciding the enterprise structure. And now something will be discussing here. So team, if you see, I'm using this Excel worksheet. This is called the working notes. Some predefined like working notes already you have here, right? So you can refer that also, and as well as any new discussions that we are going to initiate. So I'll be updating it on a daily basis in the class in this Excel sheet, right? Along with that, what we are going to do is, along with that, we are going to use when we start configuration in the application, we are going to use this configuration workbooks to initiate our configuration, right? So first we'll be discussing the concept. Once we discuss the concept, we'll be doing the corresponding setups in the application. So it is not the case we are directly going to jump into the configuration and at that point of time only we are having discussion. Let's first discuss the configuration, what exactly these tasks are, how it works and all, and then we can configure it to the application. So step by step, we are going to move ahead in the upcoming days, starting 2 to 3 weeks, the foundation related or GL related configurations will be done. Very important because of the reason this will be acting as a foundation related configuration, which will be used for other modules as well, right? So you cannot have other modules configured unless until you have the general ledger module configured. Always your GL module is going to be the first module of configuration, which is going to have all this enterprise structure configured along with the various concepts like chart of accounts, accounting method, currencies, right? So one by one, we'll be doing that. Uh, Please make sure that you are there in the class. Just do not be dependent on the recorded sessions that, okay, I'm not attending the class, but I'll refer back to the recorded session. Yes, recorded sessions will be useful, but it will be more effective if you attend the session during the daily regular classes so that even any corresponding questions you can ask in the class itself, right, to get the doubts clear. Okay, now let me quickly go through some of the questions here. So again, I think some of you have not completed the enrollment part yet. So make sure you do it anyhow by today, because now the admin team has already started working on the creation of the official WhatsApp and all, right? So in case you have not yet done your enrollment, you will not be enrolled in that group. Plus, you will not be given access to any recordings and documents. And going forward, once the official list of the enrolled students is published, so I will not be able to allow you to the meeting rooms, right? So that is one thing. And also, as I mentioned in the morning, also just before the session, that please make sure that whenever you are joining the meeting rooms, you join with the right names which you have used as a part of enrollment. The full names that you have used as a part of enrollment, please make sure your profile name also reflect the same name. Because going forward, if you just join with random names, will not be able to allow you to the meeting, right? So please make sure that your profile names are in line with the enrollment names. Okay. And how you can do that? Just click on the participants, search your name on the right hand side. There are three dots on the extreme right, from where you can unmute. Then you have your video option. Third option is where you can change your name, right? So you can update your names from there. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Uh,
Let's. Yeah. Yeah. Please go ahead.
yeah, actually, I have two questions here. One is actually the project scope document you have mentioned, right? So, during that project implementation stage, so if there is any changes, that project document, whatever it is there, right? So, scope document, that scope document will be like again, it will be rewrite or again the upgradations or something, it will be done, or it will be like the scope document is final initial stage whatever we have done.
Okay. So yes, it does do happens, like when the project is being executed at that point of time, some new requirements came into picture which was not a part of the original scope document, right? Now what happens is whenever these changes are there, so it is always evaluated by the consulting team, right? Consulting team means not only us but even from the project management team, that what is going to be the impact of these changes, what are the additional efforts will be required to execute this requirement change from our side, right? So if it is something which is major, then the consulting teams, they do have a mechanism where they call it as change request. So if they raise change request that there is a change in requirement, and this is going to be impact in terms of additional resources or in terms of additional timelines and all, right? And sometimes if it is something major, then it may also include the cost part where additional costs will be charged by the consulting team with the end user companies, right? So that is that. But sometimes if it is not that major, it is minor only. So even it is recorded as a part of the change request and it is updated as a part of the scope document. It's revised version of the scope documents are prepared. But if it is not that major, then it will be zero value. It's additional cost will not be charged by the consulting teams, right? But it is always going to be documented, whether it's a zero value means a minor change or some major change. Always it will be documented, circulated with the consulting team before implementation.
And second question is actually that retail business
Mm.
end user is there, right?
Mhm.
So suppose for example, uh, I have got an opportunity work with this end user.
Okay.
So I will have only the limited years, like suppose 1 year project or 1.5 year project. So after that, it means if I suppose for example if I joined in that retail industry,
Mhm.
end user company,
Mhm.
so I'll have only work for 1.5 year or 2 years for implementation stage only, right?
Yeah.
So after that we'll not have any work related.
You mean to say that your scope of work will not be
Yeah, only for
yes,
one our
yeah.
validity will for 1 year or 1.5 year until that project implementation is completed, right?
Okay, normally what happens is when you are okay, so there are two profile. One is implementation consultant, support consultant. One is end user, right? So end user basically means within this, right? With the example that we have taken here, with highlighted here. So end user generally it is going to mean that you are working with Reliance Industry Limited on not on implementation, but as an end user means if you're working with the accounts payable team, you're responsible for invoicing payments, those things, right? So If you're working as an end user, you'll not be having access to the setup and maintenance. You are not responsible for configurations. You are responsible only for executing the business processes. That is generally what you mean by end user profile. But if you talk from the consulting company point of view, so normally consulting company doesn't have that profile called end user. They generally have implementation consultants and they have support consultant and they're responsible for implementations and support. Right. Let's say you are a part of implementation team. You have done the configuration, executed a project, and that project timeline is 1 year. Once that 1 year is done, correct, your project gets over. But sure. It is not the case that these companies are going to work on the one project. They have hundreds of projects going on at a given point of time, right? So once your project is over, you'll be moved to the next project, then you'll be moved to the next project, right? Maybe same region, another region, same industry, another industry, right? So that is an ongoing process that implementation company does have, right? So they work continuously on different projects, support projects, implementation projects. Let's say you're a part of implementation team, then maybe your preference is implementation only. So you'll move from one project to another for implementation. Sometimes consultants prefer, no, we don't want to go with implementation. We want to be there as a part of support projects. So their profiles are decided accordingly. But it's an ongoing process, right?
Mm. And actually, this in if we work under end user company,
Mhm.
so it is like instead of selecting end user company, if we work in the consulting company, we'll get more opportunities instead better.
Uh,
Is
Correct.
it
I
correct?
mean, yeah, if you talk from the detailed scope of work, the major exposure of the technology will be always getting under the consulting companies only. You'll not get that much exposure in the end user company. But
Right.
in terms of opportunity, it is going to be there. Right? Many of the consultants I meet where they say, no, we want that thing, only. We don't, we are okay with the implementation, but look, more exposure means more work also. Correct. So the scope of work is always high in the consulting company. End user company means you are given certain processes in between. You are responsible for managing the activities only to that extent. Correct. So if it is only
Yes,
9 to 5 thing you are looking for, end user companies are one of the best. Correct. But if you're looking that, yes, I need a lot of work, I need to have a lot of exposure in the technology. So that is where this is something which is always will be having higher scope of what can opportunities, right?
that's it. Yeah. Thank you, Abhishek. That's all. That's two questions I have.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Now let me also go through some other questions. So one of the questions, I think this is FII question only, which is uh, at what stage prices and costing are decided, right? So generally, doesn't covered in our scope of work, but I'll tell you here. So whenever the end user company finalize their consulting companies, right? So how it is done is the consulting companies give their presentations and all in terms of the scope of work. This is what is the scope of work, and based on that, this is our plan and all. This are the strength of consultants we are going to bring on board and all, right? And at that point of time, they communicate the cost aspect, right? So it's a kind of like it can be a bidding kind of mechanism that can be applicable, or they submit their quotations that if you want us to implement on your behalf, then this is the overall quotation. It contains all the technical details along with the costing factor. Correct. So here, the end user company takes that decision that I want to get it implemented from PwC by Deloitte or home. Correct. So costing is not the only factor that is considered. Even important aspects are considered, like what is the experience of the particular consulting company in a particular industry now. Correct. So, for example, uh, there are many instances where you'll see the end user company gets the quotation from different companies, including the some small size, mid size companies, right? But what happens, small and mid-sized companies are there, then their quotation will be far low than these big-sized companies, right? So costing is not the only factor. One of the things that will be duly considered there is how many implementation these companies have done in the particular industry. What is the success rate of this, right? Also, the market evaluation is also something which will be done by the end user company before deciding that we want to go with this or that consulting company. right? So important factor. And at that point of time, whatever the quotations are and final price are decided between the end user company and implementation company. Generally, we don't really come to know about this unless we are working as a part of the sales team who are actually responsible for the right. So only FYI, I think. All right. So I think these are the questions. Any other questions we have? So you can also unmute yourself. You can ask your questions, or you can just put it in the chat. I'll take it from there. So the next thing, the expected things are once you've done your enrollments completion, hopefully it's already done till now. So next thing is the official WhatsApp group. So make sure we share the correct number which is available on WhatsApp, so that our team can add you in the WhatsApp channel. Second thing is please make sure going forward you join with the correct enrollment names. That is something we need to follow on a daily basis, right? Because after us. Once I get the complete list of enrollment, after that, I will not be able to allow you to enter the room with random names. So make sure you do come have a compliance on that part. Alrighty, so we'll end this session here. So let's connect back tomorrow. Uh, from where when the class is going to start. So classes are already started. This is the first regular class. Before that, we have already completed the demo session. So the first class has already happened today after the demo sessions. And payment links, and it's already there in the chat, right? So you can take it from the chat. And even the official contact numbers of the admin team was mentioned. So you can take a screenshot because once I close this meeting room, the chat will be gone. Take a screenshot of this and also copy the link and do connect with the team if you need any assistance. Alrighty, we'll end this session here. So thank you, team. Thanks for joining. Let's connect back in the next session. So
Thank you, Abhishek.
thank you.
Thank you, Abhishek.
Thank you.